winning blueprint presents.
5 minutes or less. Chicago Bears.
Welcome. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. This is 5 minutes or less with the Chicago Bears. Got 5 minutes on the clock. Let's get started. So the high point of the season for the Chicago Bears. You could point to week 9, that 51-20 thrashing of the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee, which polished off a 7-1 start for the Chicago Bears to this season and really had the Bears poised and primed and ready to not only win the NFC North, but make the playoffs and be serious contenders to win the Super Bowl. The Bears looked so dominant early on in this season. They were scoring an abundance of points, but as we all know, those points ran out, and so did those wins. Which leads us to the low point of the season for the Chicago Bears. And the low point of the season for the Chicago Bears was in week 13. The loss to the Seattle Seahawks at home was a regular season defining win for the Seattle Seahawks and was the defining loss of the season for the Chicago Bears. I think both of these teams went in opposite directions after this game transpired in week 13. Seattle had the utmost confidence after that win on the road in Chicago and went on to do some big things in the 2012 season. Meanwhile, the Bears started to stumble, and they were already kind of going through a malaise going into that game. They had that game, they dominated that game, and still found a way to lose. They allowed Seattle to win this game in dramatic fashion, coming from behind late in regulation, taking the lead. The Bears actually were able to go down the field and get a field goal to tie it up and send it to overtime, but the Bears offered little resistance in overtime as the Seattle Seahawks went straight down the field and scored on the first possession of overtime to win that football game. So that was a crushing defeat. Smashed any bit of confidence the Bears had. The next 2 weeks, they lose 2 straight divisional games. They were never the same team, and they did not make the postseason. So you look at free agency activity for the Chicago Bears. Now, you've taken care of what I felt was priority number 1 in this offseason. Getting back Henry Melton. You slapped the franchise tag on him. You're still trying to work out a long-term deal, but he's going to be back. You slapped the franchise tag on him, so you've done what you needed to do to make sure that Henry Melton is back in the Chicago Bears uniform in 2013. Now the next order of business is Brian Urlacher. What do you do there? I don't know how that situation is going to work itself out. That's anybody's guess. But you have a little bit of flexibility if you're the Chicago Bears. You got about $13 million in cap space. So go out there and test the waters if you're the Chicago Bears. Go out and see what's out there. Clean up a few areas. After you finish working out whatever you're going to work out with Urlacher, start addressing needs on this team. How about I give you an idea and sort of push you in a direction? How about you start with, left tackle. Start there. Lastly, the state of the fan base. If you are the Chicago Bears, the state of the fan base, cautious optimism. New coach, new direction, elite talent. All the pieces are there for the Bears to win it all. Can you put it together in time enough to make this thing happen before everyone is too old to be able to play at the high level you need them to for you to make this thing work? Jay Cutler isn't a spring chicken anymore. Brandon Marshall isn't a spring chicken anymore. Lance Briggs isn't a spring chicken anymore. Charles Peanut Tillman isn't a spring chicken anymore. You have to start really expediting this process if you're going to make a go of it. And you got a new coach in Mark Tresman, and you're going to try to make this thing work in Chicago. Can he get the most out of this Bears offense? More importantly, Can he squeeze all of that potential, all of that talent that everyone sees in Jay Cutler out of him and get him to put it on the field, be a leader for this team, and help you take that next step, get to the postseason, and do some serious damage? Can that happen? May not happen in 2013, but it needs to happen soon. So cautious optimism for the Bears. And as you hear that sound in the background, that means this has been the Chicago Bears in 5 minutes or less.
Chicago Bears. 5 minutes or less.